What it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nipsey coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today on the channel. I wanted to do a really dope video talking about Noah 40 Shabib's mindset, one of the greatest producers and engineers of all time that crafted a very legendary sound with Drake. So let's go over that here today. If y'all do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also check the links down below to support the channel, get those free presets and everything. So let's go over here right away. So what a guy like Noah 40 should be, what he makes me think about is tapping in with somebody over the long term. He makes me think of kind of like a situation where him and Drake are like Shaq and Kobe, or LeBron and D Wade, or Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. They have a relationship, and over time, as they've been making music together, they kind of understand what they want out of each other. Like a basketball player on the court, I already know you finna cut to the basket, so I'm gonna throw you that lob. You start to gain that chemistry with somebody. So Noah 40 Shabit, he's very interesting because he's like a blend between an engineer and a producer together, which is very interesting about him. So the very first thing I want to show today is kind of like how he likes to process his bass, because after watching some of his videos, I noticed that they have a very, very, very specific way of actually just picking a good sound. You feel me? If you pick a good tomato, well, you don't got to do too much. You don't got to put too much seasoning in that tomato to make it taste good in a salad or in a tomato soup. You feel me? So guys like Noah 40 Shabib and a lot of like really great producers and engineers, it's all about just picking the best sound and from there doing very minimal processing. So it looks like he likes to use a lot of stock plugins and Pro Tools. Well, a great plugin is something like a Pultec, and the reason why a lot of people love using Pultecs, right, because you have a low shelf, right? And the thing about the low shelf, it kind of like boosts the booty the whole way, not like this, but it boosts the booty like this, right? And then when you hit the attenuation together, it kind of creates a shape like this. So it makes the low end bigger and creates a space for the kick. So that's why you see a lot of people like to use Pultecs. And that's why a guy like Noah 40 Shabib, he's setting up that stage for Drake. It's all about making Drake the star. You feel me? He not trying to be in the situation where it's like, oh, listen to how good the beat sounds. He's trying to set up a situation where Drake is the star. Drake is the MVP of the team. He's trying to throw all the touchdown passes to Drake so Drake could be dancing in the end zone. It's all about serving the artist as an engineer. This is not about you, Brad. This is about the artist. And if that's the case, just be a rapper. You feel me? After that, I use the R bass. It looks like he likes to use R bass a lot, and R bass is a beautiful waves plugin because it generates upper harmonics. So like when you go to like SeaWorld and all that stuff like that, to make the speakers have noise all through the amusement park, that shit costs a lot of money. So I guess over time, back in the day, Waves made this plugin R bass. And what it does is it just makes it generate better on smaller speakers like bass and all that stuff like that. It generates upper harmonics, etc., etc. So yeah, we used it on parallel. And then after that, a guy like 40, what I learned from him is that he sees music in a somewhat different way. Rather than thinking about the drums first, how they're knocking, he's always thinking about the music. And it makes sense why that happened, because he's trying to set up this ocean bay beach view for Drake. You feel me? That aquatic type of sound, that underwater scuba diving type of ass sound for Drake. You feel me? When you think about Take Care and all them songs that they was doing back in the day, Headlines too was a great song. And the kick, he's very, very peculiar with how he picks the kick. And when he does have it, or he gets a beat from Boy Wonder, they'll use some like a SBL transient designer. And the SBL transient designer is great because you can make the kick hit harder without actually EQing it. You're just adding more attack to the transient. And let's say if maybe you're trying to get the drums to conform to the music, you can always play around with that sustain, making the kick maybe longer, hitting like woo, or woo, woo. You feel me? So you can change the actual timing and the feel of the kick. After that, a plugin like Avid Lo-Fi is dope, and I know that he likes to use it a lot. That point 0.1 distortion, it reminds me of Spectre. So if you don't actually have Pro Tools, the way you would emulate a move like that point 0.1 is like this. You go on Spectre and you do like a broadband type of, just a broadband presence boost. I've seen even Jason Joshua do the same exact move, but that's what Lo-Fi is doing on point 0.1. After that, in his studio, he has an Eventide H3000 Noah 40 should be. And a Eventide H3000 is a beautiful thing because his mindset about creating space in the mix is actually really raw, bruh. What I learned from Noah 40. Like, he doesn't just see it in a way of like EQing to make space, but also pitch shifting, you feel me? Also downsampling to create space, which is very smart, you feel me? Which is very, very, very smart. If you have real speakers, it's hard to, unless you have real speakers, it's hard to understand because when you have real speakers, the tweeter is on the top, the subwoofer, if you got subwoofers on the floor, and the mid-range driver is in the middle. So it makes sense when you roll off the top end, it actually makes some shit sink deeper into the speaker. So it's like height, understanding height and mixing. I would go with something like an Eventide H3000, right? Which will actually kind of like pitch shift the snare a little bit and blend it. Kind of helps the snare just sit back a little bit more. And he got a real Eventide H3000 inside his studio. So that's something I learned from Noah 40 should be. Same thing with the hi-hats, depending on how long the music is or the sample or whatever he's doing, he will make the drums conform to the music rather than creating the drum pattern, then putting the melody on top, which is what most hip hop producers do. So that's the beautiful thing about 40. Drake actually allowed 40 to become his producer. Some rappers be like, nah, you just only my engineer. But over time, because they got that relationship and that chemistry, which is important for you to tap in with an engineer or a beat maker, that's your homeboy. Now he kind of understands, like, you already know what I want, bro. You already know how I like my McDonald's. You feel me? You know how I like my Big Mac with no lettuce and extra cheese on it. So I'm gonna let you put my order in. That's why Drake gave 40 that freedom to create his sound for him. You feel me? Because he knows what he wants type shit. So in 40 Studio 2, he got some mic pre's. He got the Mag EQ mic pre. He's got the Neves, the BAEs, and he's also got the API, which is really dope. So I guess maybe he probably just runs some of his samples or whatever through those preamps, which is something that people like to do. And they give a little bit of seasoning. They give a little bit of salt. They give a little bit of pepper. They give a little bit of cayenne. That's what those mic pre's can do. A mic pre can be used for more than just recording, a vocal chain, because they already got their vocal chain, which we all know. We already know what that vocal chain is. We don't gotta act like we don't know what that vocal chain is. We know what that vocal chain is, bro. We're not gonna talk about that yet. So that API, just running samples through that, that's dope. So I picked the API Vision Strip to model, what 40 uses. And API Vision Strip is very dope because API was made in the 90s, right? And the thing about that mic pre, it's got a 2520 op amp in it, which has a very modern sound, very modern, but up forward and full. And that's the great thing about Drake's vocals is that they're up forward and they're very smooth. So you really get to hear what the person is saying. You really get to hear the emotional message of Drake's vocals, and a lot of times the samples too, if they want a certain sample to come out, they're going to use a certain mic pre and maybe run it through the mic pre and print it down, you feel me, type shit. So after that, another avid lo-fi on the drums, and this is a thing that 40 does. He likes to automate the sample rate. So what he'll do is like he'll probably down sample the drums. Something that he did different 240 should be in the production. He used toms, you feel me, over snares, which I thought that was dope as fuck. Back in the days, you used to hear these boom, boom, like that tom, that low ringing tom, it's really dope. It's really dope. You feel me? It's really dope, Like he really did some different shit on the production. So I know that sometimes he likes to automate the lo-fi and decrease the sample rate. And some people think it's a high pass filter, but when you're degrading the sample rate, you're literally like making this shit sound more shitty and trash compactor versus where, think about it like two ways. A low pass filter is like if you took a blanket and you threw it over the trash can. But a sample rate, like bringing down the sample rate, is like if you put it in a trash compactor and you squeeze the trash and now it's like all fucked up and brittle and shit like that. So it's two ways to achieve the same thing, which is, trying to make the trash go away type shit. So after that, we have a piano, the instruments. And I noticed that in his studio, he has a fine collection of analog hardware. 40, he's got a LA2A. It looks like an original LA2A, and the LA2As are great because they're great for imaging too. They like to use a lot of synths and pads in Drake's music, and the LA2A works perfectly because the optical component brings presence to things like synths, to things that have a lot of RMS, right? So yeah, LA2A would be great. And then I also noticed in 40's studio, he's got a Federal. He doesn't have a regular Fairchild. He has a Federal. So a Federal is kind of like the big fat sister related to a Fairchild. It's a different sound compared to a Fairchild, but they're kind of related. So I picked the UAD Fairchild, and the thing about the Federal is it has a lot of transformers and a lot of tubes, and that stuff is really great for an atmospheric Drake sound because all these pads, ooh, ooh, all these that type of weak ass faint sounds, they need a little bit of body, they need a little bit of weight, they need to get their weight up so they can stand in that mix with them big drums. You feel me? Type shit. So that's why a tube compressor is great on atmospheric sounds because it provides that imaging, that solidity that comes from the transformer, and the tube as well kind of gives some brightness, gives more shimmering to those type of things. And of course, another lo-fi. It looks like 40. He likes to use lo-fi a lot, and I seen that in the Sound on Sound magazine. In his studio, he's also got a Neve Portico, which is kind of like a mastering two-bus strip that has a little bit of stereo widening. It also has the red and the blue transformers, and it also has the tape saturation inside of it too, I believe. So I recreated that hardware. I know it's not gonna sound like the same exact hardware, but honestly, I had the Neve 542s, which that's two of the three modules inside the Neve Portico. And honestly, these plugins, they come close, bro. These plugins they're not gonna be the difference. I actually literally had the Neve 542s, right? And honestly, I feel like they made my mixes sound worse because I was expecting the hardware to make the shit sound amazing when in reality, what makes a song sound amazing is the chemistry with the person. Drake and 40, if they played basketball, bro, imagine how many assists and points they had. If they played football, imagine how many touchdowns they would have. If they played soccer, imagine how many goals and assists they would have because they're just a good team. And when you have a good relationship with somebody, especially musically, it's not just about music. It goes beyond music. So the music is just a reflection of that great relationship that 40 and Drake have with each other. They really fuck with each other, bro. Imagine that you got a day one producer, a day one engineer who been working with you this whole time. Of course your shit gonna sound good, bro. Of course you got a barber who been cutting your hair for 10 years. Of course when you sit in that chair, he gonna have you looking sharp. Come on, bruh. So yeah, the True Iron is for the transformer emulation. J37 is for the tape and the Portico, and the S1 stereo imager would be trying to model that complete strip, right? Of course it's not gonna be the same thing. And okay, let's move on to the devil. We gotta move on to the devil now. Just a quick moment of silence. The Neve 1073 into the tube tech cell 1B. We know what this is. This is peanut butter on jelly on bread. It's the classic combination of sweetness from the tube tech compressor, which is a tube compressor. It's an optical compressor that has a tube input and stage. It's really, really squishy. It reminds us of kind of like jelly. And then we have the Sheps, the 1073, which is like the peanut butter. So 1073 is like peanut butter because it has a transformer that thickness. When you eat peanut butter, it kind of hard to eat. You kind of get stuck in your mouth, type shit like that. So that's why it's a perfect combination, and it's an industry standard for a reason. Like just like how peanut butter and jelly goes together well, that's why those two, you know, plugins, those two items go together well. That preamp and that compressor, because they play off each other's strengths. Like I just said, the tube tech, it has that sweetness and that gooiness, right? And especially that top end, the tube, the nice tube top end, and then the Shep 73, the Neve 1073, it's got that transformer, which gives it the body, right? So it's just a really tonally balanced type of vocal that is coming in, right? So EQ7, I know Noel 40 Shavid, he loves using stock Pro Tools plugins, Waves, de-esser as well. He likes to use that. And a little bit of Arvox too. Arvox is perfect, especially with somebody like Drake who has that singing. He's always trying to sing, and his Drake's voice is very light, bro, and very delicate. So it's all about trying to get that presence, right? Give that presence, give as much weight as you can to Drake's vocal, and also clear out the spaces in the rest of the instruments and everything. Like carve that pocket, carve that car seat. You feel me? Have that door open, that car seat, so the vocal could slide into the whip and close the door and really have its position in the song or the whip. You feel me? So after that, we have the background vocals, which is just basic Avid EQ, and then the Mag EQ. I know that 40 has the like I said, the Mag Pre, which is the preamp, as well as just the airband. Most people just only use the airband, so that would be great on background vocals. Just taking out, notching out a little bit of that harshness on a Drake vocal, but then using something like the Mag EQ to boost and cut, just like how the concept of a pull tech of boosting and cutting, like in that same neighborhood, right, helps it still feel like the background vocals are airy, and that's what Drake has. He has airy background vocals. And for the ad libs, of course, something like a phaser. I know that he's got a dual H910. Does he have that one? It's one of the other Eventide products, or the H9000. Either way, he probably uses something like a phaser, kind of like on God's Plan. He used the phaser on Drake's vocal. And then the parallel compression, I would just use another CL1B. He's got two CL1Bs, and I like using the CL1B on parallel too. It's a great plugin because it gives that brightness. It gives that feeling that there is sugar inside the cup. There is some sugar inside the coffee, but like you can't really taste it, right? You're blending in that sweetness of that tube compressor in parallel. All right. Another great thing, Noah 40, he likes to use H delay. H delay, he said that in Pensado's interview from Pensado's place. And then something like the Seventh Heaven, which is an emulation of a Berkasti M7, and that's a great type of reverb for Drake because that M7, it sounds very expensive. You know what I mean? It's just it is a very expensive reverb. The shit costs $5. A Toyota, it really costs a damn near a Toyota, a used whip type shit. So great presets on this plugin. I love the AM chamber, the vocal chamber, and just having a little bit of like a chamber reverb is great for Drake because the chamber reverb, it has a high amount of reflexivity, low diffusion, so it just adds clarity to a Drake vocal. And then for the doubler, Eventide H3000 Magic Air preset. Tupac used the Magic Air preset, and that works great for Drake as well because it's just like a little bit of pitch shifting. You feel me? Just a 0.1 of a pitch shifting is what gives the brightness. It's getting brightness, but without EQ. And a guy like Drake, in the beginning of his career, he recorded with a TLM 103. You feel me? Which is a very harsh microphone, and his Drake's vocal is very bright. Naturally, he got that. He's got a very bright voice, bro. He's got a very bright voice. You feel me? Some people would say he even sounds like a bitch. You feel me? Type shit like that. But that don't matter. Kendrick might say that, but that don't matter. That don't matter. All right. But important to know, like what I always keep screaming at you guys about. You pay attention to how this preset is using pitch shifting to get brightness. So the higher the pitch of something is, it sounds brighter. So if you have a high voice that's high in pitch, your voice is automatically gonna sound brighter because the human ear associates higher pitch with brightness. That's why you see Magic Air, you feel me? Full wide band, and it's just using a little bit of that pitch shifting. So that's a concept too to know. And the last thing is the mastering chain, NLS bus. I know 40 like to use like a SSL console once in a while, stemming some stuff out on the console. He's got an Avid console now, and I see in his studio he's got a massive passive, which is a very beautiful EQ. So this, this template, I just wanted to go over everything I learned from Noah 40 Should Be. I've been studying his mixes and studying his interviews and all that stuff like that, how he's such a wizard and he craft Drake sound. So if you guys want this template, you can check it in the link down below for free. I'm going to give it to you. I gave you all the information and, all these little custom presets and, alternatives to the hardware he got. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check the links to support the channel.